All right, everybody. This is what you've been waiting for. All 10 of you out there. This is the Evil MoPac podcast. I have a very special non-driving guest today in the MoPac lair. Very excited to have C. Robert Cargill, and we're gonna have some fun today, buddy. Why don't you introduce yourself? I know everyone knows who you are, but pretend there's someone under a rock somewhere who doesn't know who you are, and let us know what you got going, what you got cooking.
I'm most famous for one time taking a picture of an actor on a scooter. That is my greatest achievement in life. That may have been a thing I have done. No, my name is C. Robert Cargill. I'm a screenwriter, a novelist, and a film critic. I was part of the Austin film critic scene back in the aughts, and then jumped ship and have written several books and several movies, most notably Sinister, Doctor Strange, and last year The Black Phone. So that's me.
All right, we're gonna get into a lot of that. I appreciate it, and a lot of people watching this right now are like, I'm an Austin screenwriter too. So you got something in common for about 50,000 of them.
Yeah. There's a lot of us screenwriters here. It's a good community of folk.
It's crazy. You guys, I'm gonna jump right on this. This isn't gonna be a main focus, but the screenwriters have swinger parties too.
No, we really don't. We're not that cool.
Yo, yo,
It's
well,
one of those jobs that is made to look cool because screenwriters write themselves to seem cool in movies, but really it's a very, very boring group of people.
that's awesome.
We sit around, we drink coffee and whiskey and argue politics, and that's about the extent. That's as cool as we fucking get.
Jesus, that is some dark stuff, buddy. Okay, well, if I can somehow get an invite to one of these things at Steiner, I'll DM you, and you just don't say you know me when you're there, man, in case they kick you out or something.
I'm told we need to look for the upside down pineapples. So they're
Well,
apparently all over down
yeah, that's kind of a trope. I know you know that with movies and stuff. That's kind of the jump scare of movies of Swinger, but I don't know, man. Like I got something coming out pretty soon on a future podcast. I'm going to have actual swingers on this podcast, and they're gonna yeah, I know they're gonna reveal some of the inner workings of that very strange lifestyle they have that fascinates so many of us. Let's just say these people aren't supermodels.
there. I imagine not.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, you already kind of gave us a start, and thanks again for appearing. You are undoubtedly going to be the best Evil Mopac podcast guest so far. I
It's
I've
hard to
always wondered.
it's a high bar. It's a high bar that's been set being the first.
Absolutely, absolutely. You said hi, and you're making me paranoid right now. It's already 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a non-rush hour day, buddy. So I might be going a little slow today. Um, so you already said I was going to ask you if you could tell me what you do for a living in 5 words or less, but you already answered that pretty much. We'll get into some of that stuff. But the first thing I know, this is probably fascinating a lot of people, a lot of my listeners. When you're a screenwriter, do you do your own stunts?
All the time. All the time. I get up, I make my own coffee. I swing out from 2222 onto Mopac.
You swing.
I change lanes. I do everything. It's all my own stunts.
That's great. So, like, by stunts, you mean like when the director is sitting up in something, you go and say, "Hey, sir, can I get you something?" Or you do the pillow underneath his butt or something. Or how does that work?
Oh no. That's when you're the screenwriter, you get they'll give you an assistant to do that for you, so you don't have to do any of that. You can have your assistant prop up the pillow for their butts.
Gotcha. So what I'm hearing is you're not a Summer Moon screenwriter, like one of those guys cranking away, talking really loud about their new project. They're gonna get started. Okay, I just want to make sure you're a real. You do the movies. That's
I
good
do the
stuff.
movies. That is
Okay, so as you said, you were doing some stuff before screenwriting. Is it true that you're a movie critic before you got interested in this?
Yeah. For a decade. Yeah, I started in 2000 and got out in the beginning of 2011.
That's amazing. And was it here in Austin, Texas?
Yeah, ain't it cool news?
Oh
There was
yeah.
a person who was a very prominent person in town for a while, Harry Knowles. We weirdly met at Threadgill's to get as Austin as it gets. Yeah, he was my boss for a while, and I wrote Any Cool News for about 10 years. Did a couple other things, started up a site based here in town that came from a cable access show we did on ACC. Called The Real Deal, and that turned into a place called spill.com, which weirdly there's been someone bought that domain that was our domain for years, and now they're turning it into a social network, and people are like, oh, you can find me on Spill, and it's like, what that's weird.
I think they started calling it Streams over this week. Is that it?
Streams?
Stream is like there's a new social network out there.
Oh, Threads.
It's Threads.
Yeah,
I'm thinking Streams. I'm thinking about the swinger party. Sorry about that. I gotta
brain is in Circle C, my friend.
Oh boy, yeah. A lot of people accuse me of living in Circle C, and I can't say if you can kind of see my face there. I do kind of graze that fine community of Facebook and next door posters and swingers and people complain about dog shit. But yeah, man. So we're not gonna do any reveals here, but I like to think that I kind of touch on all neighborhoods. So you were just you I appreciate that information. So when you're a movie critic, I'm trying to get some info here. Mm-hmm. Is that like a traffic reporter turning into MoPac? Like you're part of, like you're reporting on it, and you're sort of you have your toe in it, but then how do you make that leap to doing the real thing?
Well, I mean, it's actually it's a weirdly common thing because when you're that interested in film and breaking it down, eventually you either go, hey, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, or I'm going to actually try to make one. And so for me, it was the transition was weird in that it's truly a lucky thing. I became friends with Scott Derrickson. He was a fan of my reviews. He read me all the time and started writing to me. We wrote back and forth, and then we happened to be in Vegas on the same time, on the same weekend, and was like, "Hey, let's get together for drinks." And he had a producer coming to him saying, "Hey, I'll give you $1 million if you just bring me a good idea, and you can make the film however you want." And he had this idea, and he said, "Can I get your professional opinion?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And I gave him my notes on his idea. I said, "I've had this idea rattling around my head. Can I get your professional opinion?" He goes, "Yeah, sure. Everyone pitches me once. This is your one time. Go ahead, pitch me." And I pitched him Sinister, and he's like, "Holy shit, this is the idea this guy's looking for." And a week and a half later, we sold it to Jason Blum, and we were making the movie 8 months later. And the rest is history. It worked out, and people said, "Hey, let's hire him again." And I've been working pretty consistently for 12 years since.
That is unbelievable, man. Congratulations on that. The statistical improbability of what you just described is similar to a BMW driver using a blinker.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like a 1 in a million shot.
It's like, wait, that worked? That actually worked? Oh my God.
So when you're prepping to tell Derrickson your pitch for Sinister, like how nervous were you? How many times did you go to the bathroom before that? I can't even imagine. You get this one shot. It's like the Eminem song. You're like, this is it, man.
Literally, it didn't feel like that at all. It was just me hanging out with a friend and pitching him this idea I had. And just the fact that he was excited, I went home, I went back to the hotel with my wife, and I was like, oh, well, maybe, who knows? Maybe somebody will buy this. Maybe I'll make a movie. And wouldn't that be exciting? It was not a thing that we really thought was going. It wasn't like I wasn't nervous in that way that it was like, oh, here's my shot. It was very much, just pitched this idea. So, and I had told several people before. It wasn't a new thing. And Scott, was in a weird part of his career. He had made The Day the Earth Stood Still, and it did not do well. But there's a whole history of that. And so he was at this point in his career where he's like, yeah, I'll make a movie for $1 million just to make a movie. And so it did not feel like I was sitting, it's not like you're sitting at the table with Spielberg and you're like, oh shit, like I'm nervous. It was two buddies chatting. And that's so amazing. The fact that it blew up the way it did and it worked out, and we created a film that people still dig is pretty rad. So yeah.
That's a great movie, man. Once my eyes adjusted to the dark, I started. I'm like, this poor family can't see anything. I could, anything could be scary there. Like a Bed Bath and Beyond towel could be scary. And that the way you set that up, man, it was great. Well, you mentioned Sinister, so I'm gonna jump around a little bit today, but here's a hypothetical. I'm gonna do a lot of these fun little hypotheticals because I got you here.
Let's do it.
So you can only save one of the following people from a fire. Elon Musk, Ken Paxton, and Mr. Boogie. Who
Oh
you got?
fuck. Oh, I hate you. You made me choose. I'd set Ken Paxton on fire twice.
Okay, that seemed like you were kind of you did a little switcheroo there, man. You were kind of pretending like that was going to be a tough question, and then you just went right in, man.
I
You got that
mean,
impeachment already.
talk about like when you talk about the worst people in Texas. There's a nice list of like really really awful people, and then you get to Ken Paxton, you're like, yeah, but you're worse than all of them.
Yeah, you've
So,
been reading my Twitter feed.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like you go to work and imagine your worst day at work. You did the worst thing you've ever done. You had your worst day, most incompetent day, most dishonest day. That's every day for Kenny P, man. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I don't want this ain't a political podcast, man. But I mean, this touches on everyone. It's shocking to me that it's taken this long for this guy.
Well, there's that element to it, but he's a man so deeply corrupt. He literally did an interview after he was ousted and was bragging about the fact that he manipulated an election and that he manipulated it in a way that the governor would not be the governor. We would have Beto as governor and not Greg Abbott, and that Trump would have lost Texas because he was so corrupt. And the thing is that he was saying that as if that was a good thing. He was bragging about it. Like he's so corrupt that his corruption is a selling point for him. It's the weirdest fucking thing I've seen in Texas politics.
Yeah, I mean, his corruption is like a tribble.
Yeah.
Just kind of procreates on its own.
Yep.
Yeah, it's some wild stuff, man. I've not had too many chances to. Well, I guess in a sense, I'm not saying I'm like Kenny P, but I tend to brag about my worst days a little bit on Twitter too. But that's fine. That's another story. We can do the podcast to me some other time. But okay, you alluded to this in the beginning. I guess they call that a teaser in the industry that we're in, you and I. But you created what I would call a work of art that some would call a magnum opus, some would call a masterpiece, some would call the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Scooter Elijah Wood, and I know you must get asked this hundreds and thousands of times by people, but tell the audience here how that happened, because it is just, if you all don't know, it's a picture of Elijah Wood, and you could not have choreographed this to be the more like cool Austin hipster or whatever you want to say about Austin hipster in 2017, 2018. Tell me, walk me through that creative process.
Well, it was a weird thing. I've known Elijah for a lot of years because he's lived here on and off and is an Austinite. And he goes to film festivals, and we would go to an annual festival together that was at the Draft House called Butnumathon, and it was Harry Knowles' birthday party, and he would show movies for 24 hours straight. And Elijah would go all the time, and so I got to know him over the years, and we became friends. And he was at Fantastic Fest film festival in September, and the limes had just shown up. The limes and the birds had just hit, and everybody was kind of like marveling at them. They're like, "Oh, there's one of those scooters," and like, I've heard about this, and they had just happened. And Elijah's like, I kind of want to try one. And his buddy Daniel's like, yeah, we'll just fucking go and do it. He's like, I guess I need a credit card. And like, he figured it out how to use it. And he just started scooting around on it. And so, my buddy's riding by on this fucking weird ass scooter, and I just snap a picture of it. And he was being really goofy about it at the time. So he had a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and he had the hipster mustache at the time, and he was all in. And so I snapped a picture, and then when he got off the scooter, he came over. I was like, "Oh, dude, check this out!" And he laughed. I said, "Is it cool if I post that on Twitter?" He goes, "Go for it." And so I posted on Twitter, and within 5 minutes, someone had turned it into a meme and says, "One does not simply walk into Mordor." And from that moment, it was its own thing, and it went off and had its own life. He literally got interviewed on the Tonight Show and got asked about it. Like, it had become such a big deal that it's like, hey, so there's this picture of you on a scooter. Can you tell this story? And so he told the story about it. It was just literally it was between movies at the Draft House. And
That is amazing. That is amazing. And thank you. Yeah. So I want to thank you and Elijah. Maybe I'll have Elijah on one of these if he has if he's not scared off by this one. But I want to thank you both for being responsible for like 6.9% of my content for about 2 years, man, because that was I didn't even know it was you, man. I mean, I knew I just I kind of pictured it was just someone saw Elijah and go, but it is just it's the perfect photograph for a moment in time in Austin, Texas. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
everyone looks like that or was doing that, but it was just it was sort of like the sort of idealized
It's
moment.
it's what the kids call a vibe. It was a
Yeah,
whole
man,
Austin vibe.
I'm old, man. I'm basically like I'm pretty ancient. I'm not. You're a kind of a young man. I was paved in '67 here. I'm not sure if you how long you been in Austin.
99. I was lived in San Antonio. My wife went to UT, and I followed her up eventually. And I moved in 99, and been here ever since.
Someone moving to Austin, man. That is crazy.
It's
And
rare, right? It's
it's
so
crazy.
rare.
Well, 99. So that's 24 years. I'm bragging on my math there. What's it like being the person who's lived in Austin the longest?
Well, you end up telling stories about how cheap rent used to be. It's like, in my day, I paid $425 for a 2-bedroom apartment on Lamar.
I love it, man. You become some like English society guy. Like I was here like see Robert Cargill Howell the Fourth. That's good stuff. So that well we can talk another time about old style Austin, which is '99 when there were like 7 cars and a couple thunderclouds. But I want to get into some of these more esoteric things. So here's a good one, similar to the one I just gave you about the only saving one on an island. We're gonna play Fuck Mary Kill. If that's all right
Okay,
with you. Yeah,
let's
it's
do it.
nothing. It's not gonna actually happen. So let's we're
Well, I
gonna
hope
do it with
not.
we're gonna do with some movies. So it's very allegorical. Okay, Fuck Mary Kill. Doctor Strange, The Black Phone, and Sinister 2.
Oh, well, kill Sinister too. Marry Doctor Strange and fuck Black Phone.
That's great. I'm gonna take this out of context. It's gonna sound awesome. And don't ever say I don't give you softballs down the middle, buddy. you know, I know that. You know what? Let's think of one step further. Zilker Park, Mount Benel, and the "I love you so much" sign. Fuck Mary Kill.
Oh, fuck! I love you so much. No. Let me. Well, I walk that back. Kill. I love you so much.
Thank you.
Uh,
That's the right answer.
because the thing is it's delightful and it's been delightful, but the sad thing about it is it got spray painted over years ago. It got ruined, and they just remade it because people liked it so much. So it's not the
Yeah,
real one. It's just kind of for Instagram now. And it's like, I remember when it was what it was, and it was this cute little thing that happened naturally, and now it's an Instagram thing. I would marry Mount Benel and fuck Zilker Park.
yeah.
I
I'd
do
hit
like
I'd hit
Mount
that shit.
Benel quite a bit.
Yeah, I'd hit that too. Yeah, but the "I love you so much" sign. I mean, it's there are other telltale signs, man. But the one sure way to tell that someone is not actually from Austin is to look at that sign right in front of you taking a
Yeah,
picture. It's
yeah, like
unbelievable.
yeah. If you live here, you've never taken a picture of yourself next to it.
Not a
It's just a piece
chance.
of graffiti. But yeah, it's like, oh, you're on Instagram. Oh, you're a tourist.
Yeah. And then you get cool ones that pop up like "I love your butthole so much." It is all something. Austin's great, man. I mean,
It
and
is.
one thing you probably notice about Austin, I notice this too. I mean, I'm never going to close, but is the phenomenon when something closes down. So, like, let's say a old school bowling alley goes belly up and is replaced by a Labradoodle day spa. And just seeing the grieving that people have about that probably weren't in that bowling alley for like the last 25 years. Like, hey, brother, you're part of the reason that thing's changing. They can't afford the. I mean, I know some of its externalities like rent going up, but it is interesting seeing that the people having a sense of nostalgia for something they have not themselves done for a long time. That seems like a real phenomenon.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's exactly what happened to Threadgills. Is everyone like, oh no, Threadgills is gone? It's like, when was the last time you ate at Threadgills? Honestly, like,
Janis
yeah,
Joplin was there.
you
I
ate
mean,
there
I feel
5 years. Yeah.
yeah. No, I mean,
Um,
but some of that might be Frankel's food. I mean, I don't put all the blame on people, but it is a very uniquely Austin phenomenon to kind of to kind of have that pining away feeling for something either you didn't participate in or didn't have any real attachment to, or if you did have a small one, it was kind of a fleeting one, and just it's sort of a vibe. I mean, I've really noticed that
No,
it's a thing.
it is, and especially it's very weird when you're one of the few customers that goes to that place, and then it's like, oh man, this place is gone. Everyone's like, oh, it's gone. It's like, well, where the fuck were you? You were never there when I was there.
Yeah, man.
Um,
I know some people that felt bad enough with regulars towards the end that like they go for them and go and like they'd get four separate tables to make it look like it was more crowded. I mean that's some sad stuff.
I
Anyway,
actually, by the way,
what
I
about,
actually worked at Threadgills. That's that was one of my first jobs in Austin. I
are you
have, in
serious?
fact, oh yeah, no, I have the most Austin fucking first year experience. The two places I worked at was I Love Video and Threadgills. Those are
Oh shit!
that's that is how Austin I get.
You could have starred in Slacker, buddy.
I was just a few years too late.
Oh man, yeah. So Slacker, by the way, a good movie. Dazed and Confused. Obviously, I'm a big fan of
Well,
the Dazed and Confused. If you could be not be any of Days of who's your favorite Days and Confused character? I mean, you can be it as a writer or just as a person or like as a cool dude with a cool mustache and glasses or cool beard and glasses. I mean, who carries that movie for? I know Wooderson's sort of the stock answer, and that can be your answer, man. Because I love Wooderson, but
Wooderson's great, but like really, it is Wiley Wiggins. Wiley is just he was always very Austin to me. Like just the whole, you're watching this kid go from junior high to high school, but he really is the Austin vibe. He's just kind of like hanging out with everybody, just being chill, being cool, fitting in. And Wiley carries that movie for me.
yeah, he was good, man, because it didn't seem like he was acting. I mean, it seemed like, and I know he was acting, but he was an amateur, right? I mean, he just kind of picked this
Oh
kid
yeah,
off the street, and
yeah,
the
and
only I will,
he did a
but
couple of things, and then he was very you just run into him everywhere, like he was all around. So I got to know him while weirdly enough, again, I got to know him when I was working at I Love Video, and he would come in and rent stuff, and then of course I've run into him over the years all over the place. He worked over at Dell for a while, and yeah, he was just an Austin native making an Austin movie, and yeah, that was very much who he was.
it was cool, man. He did a really good job in that with everything with the pitching. I mean, that's look,
Well,
man, we all can't be pitchers. We
no,
all Bruce didn't line him up with a home run or anything, but I mean, in Black Phone, your pitcher looked like a pitcher. I mean, that kid had a good arm, but Wiley, man, he fought through it, and I saw one of them featurettes they did. Linklater did it, behind the scenes kind of thing, and let's say that what you saw in the film, I know they got a stunt double to do some of the stuff, but I mean that was still better than when he first. I don't think the kid could even like throw it 3 feet, which is just incredible. But I mean that's actually kind of cool because like who gets to that age and doesn't know how to throw a baseball? Someone who's been doing interesting shit. I mean,
yeah.
doing other stuff that's cool. So yeah, good for him. And by the way, what videos do you rent? Was it like that stuff where like you got to put in a separate bag or
No,
just
no, no.
normal stuff?
It was just,
Okay,
I mean, it was the '90s, so it was
yeah,
all the cool indie stuff that was coming out.
okay. Wasn't
Um,
she's all that or something?
no,
Um, so yeah. By the way, I'm sure if you've been to a Blockbuster before, but there was it's kind of a thing at Blockbuster where they would be like, whatever movie you were checking out, the kid behind the thing would like yell it like you just got a movie man or something like, hey, look, it's Swedish erotica or whatever. I just thought that was kind of a little bit of an imposition. I'm sure you all didn't do that. I love video though, man. You guys were more had a little more you know secrecy with your
well, yeah,
process.
especially because a lot of the stuff that I Love was renting at that time was under the counter stuff we weren't allowed to have.
Shit, like
Um,
what? Give me,
oh,
give me.
Great example. A an unreleased documentary that you can only get as a bootleg, Cocksucker Blues, which is the documentary about the Rolling Stones.
Okay.
And it includes a scene of Keith Richards shooting up into his own penis. Like
Yeah,
it
but I
was,
mean, who hasn't done that?
yeah. Well, I mean, no one in Circle C certainly.
Oh, I
But
I don't know, man. Step about a block off the drag, though. Anytime in the '90s.
yeah, but they had some other stuff. The director's cut of the uncut 5-hour work print of Apocalypse Now was one of the things they had. Trying to remember what the other ones were. There's a couple other under the counter things that
Okay.
they had, and then of course one of the cool things they had is they had everything Bill Hicks ever did, including
Okay.
shit that he just did on ACC, and so it would be you get a lot of that stuff that people would come in and rent because you couldn't get
That's
that anywhere
amazing.
else.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think of that movie Censor. I'm not sure if you've seen that. It's a British independent horror movie from last year. I think it's called Censor, and it's this film critic
Hmm. Yeah,
who, yeah, you see it. And she goes in during that kind of quest to find the sister thing, and then I'm just trying to get a spoiler here, but like that scene where she goes in this video store and he's got this the secret stash like in the back vault. It's that
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of thing. I
yeah.
mean,
The of the video nasties at that point.
you
Yeah.
do nasties, yeah, yeah, crazy. Um, so obviously you have different genres you get in, but what would you say is your favorite horror movie besides I-35?
My favorite horror movie. Oh god, I don't even know if I have one. I mean, I love horror in total, but I don't know if there's one horror movie that I'm like, that's my favorite horror movie. Um, that and anything I would name would sound kind of cliche because it, kind of is. Um, maybe The Thing.
The,
Maybe.
Carp- the Carpenter, 82.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
love
it's a
that film quite a bit, and I've seen it so many times, but also at the same time, I feel like that's an answer I'm supposed to give.
right.
Um, uh, I just there's so many great fucking horror films, and I watch so many of them that I don't even know. I don't even really have one. I've got my standard answer for my favorite movie, but it's not a horror film.
What's
Uh,
that?
Casablanca. I'm a big fan
Okay,
of Casablanca, and tied with Flash Gordon. I'm a big fan of Flash Gordon. I watch that
S-
movie a lot.
that's one of Sam B. Jones's best. Is it that? Is it 80? Different one?
Yeah, yeah, that's Sam Jones. Yeah,
Sam Jones, yeah, yeah, that's good stuff. And then I still have flashbacks about when they're doing that. He's doing that fight with Timmy Dalton on the on
hmm
that on that platform, and they have the little thing
yep,
sticking up, and God, it's good stuff.
yep.
Um, so I feel like I got some insider baseball here. What who was the grabber from the black phone based on? Was it maybe Johnny Depp and Willy Wonka?
Well, I mean, that was not really. It was the thing about the grabber is it happened organically. It was originally the character itself, when written in Joe Hill's short story, was based on Gacy, John Wayne Gacy.
Okay,
And so in the original story, he was done up in clown makeup, and he was a clown when he kidnaps our protagonist. And but when we wrote the script, Joe was like, "Okay, guys, so here's the thing. When I wrote this, it was in 2005. It was 20 years after it had happened. Nobody really was thinking about that. I certainly wasn't thinking about that. But now it has come out as a movie and it was a big hit, and now people are going to see my dad's character, Pennywise, in this movie, and so I kind of don't want to be compared to my dad. Could we change it? And we are like, yeah, absolutely. What would you change it to? He goes, I've got this weird obsession with this era of magician act in which half the time the magician would appear as a magician and the other half he would appear as the devil, and he would dress up as the devil and do tricks. And we were like, oh, well, that's neat. And he goes, yeah. And they had these masks that they would wear that were these devil masks. And we were like, oh, well, that's fucking cool. Yeah, let's do that. And Scott did some research on them and found some great classic masks and said, I want to do something like this. And then we went out to a bunch of folks. And the person who came back to us with the best idea was Tom Savini, of all people, legendary fucking practical effects guy in the industry, who's been in a lot of movies as well. And he directed the 1990 Night of the Living Dead, just a horror legend, and he wanted to do this, and so he designed the mask, and it was just fucking great. And so it was very much that, and so it was just this weird organic thing. And then we handed the character over to Ethan and said go with it, and Ethan was really excited, and his whole thing was like, look, I'm this is a really great exercise for me because I get to act with only my voice. So my voice and my theatricality of my physical, presence, that's all I get to act with. I don't get to emote. And it excited him. And so he created this incredible character out of all that. So it just all happened. So there wasn't we based it on something. It all just kind of became its own thing. And then, it seems like Willy Wonka a bit, but because Willy Wonka is such a theatrical character, but it really was a loser magician kidnapping kids. Like, what is that? Who does that guy think he is? And that's very much what Ethan created.
Yeah, I mean, and it was, and the Johnny Depp comment notwithstanding, I mean, it was a very, very original character, and I will say this, it's a really good movie, and I really enjoyed it. Nothing scares me though, so other than the thought of a Westlake date night, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. But you know, in 100 years, people are going to see that mask, and they're going to know what it's from. I mean, that's the movie's good, but just having that iconic mask from it is just it's kind of like you see a Jason mask. I mean, obviously that was a big franchise, but and made people very very scared of hockey players, which I thought was kind of sad. But they see that mask, they're going to immediately remember that's the back phone. That's the
And
grabber.
it's really cool to have something like that from something you worked on. It was really cool to see that like come together, see it on set and go, oh, this is cool, this is great, and then see it kind of take off and become its own cultural thing. In fact, I have one of the masks that we shot on the film, and so I wore it for Halloween last year while giving out candy. And there's a couple of 12-year-old kids, going through and like, oh my God, guys, look, it's Ethan Hawke. It's Ethan Hawke. And
That's amazing.
Ethan Hawke, and that's how they didn't even say the grabber. They were just like, it's Ethan Hawke.
They made that connection. Yeah, they made that connection. That's good stuff. Let me speak of Ethan. If Ethan Hawke were a cologne, what would it smell like?
Oh, leather and whiskey.
God damn it! That's exactly what I was going to say. That's amazing. That's good. Look. I don't know Ethan. Y'all are thick as thieves, but I feel like he would approve of that answer.
Oh yeah. No, he's an Austinite. He's good people. He was born here, raised here. He is as Austin as it gets, and he's legit.
Does he still live here?
No, he lives in New York City with his wife and his kids now.
Okay.
But he comes back here frequently. He and Rick Linklater are best friends, and he visits regularly. In fact, weirdly, I ran into him downtown just out of the blue. Like literally, I was sitting in a restaurant on 6th Street, and he walked past the window, and we saw each other. It was like, oh, holy shit! And so yeah, he's around.
Okay. Did you know Uma Thurman when they were together?
No, that was before we got to know each other.
Gotcha. I had a question about Pulp Fiction. Um, so you obviously, as a screenwriter, a successful working screenwriter, could live in Los Angeles, but choose to live in Austin anyway. Is it strange to be just like 250,000 other people?
No, not at all. It feels very common.
What is a movie that's not on Pornhub that you didn't write but wish you did?
Sing Street. I really, really love the movie Sing Street, and it's such a good coming of age movie. And that's one movie that I'm like, oh man, I wish I'd written something like that.
That's a clever one. Was that Irish or British? I remember I saw it a few years ago.
It's Irish, yeah.
Irish, yeah.
And it's a very, very good film about the art of how art comes together. How it's what I love about it. It's very authentic, and hey, we want to put a band together, so you just kind of cobble some things together, and then you get your shit together and you make a thing, and everyone goes, "How the hell did you do that?" And we're like, we don't know, we can't tell you. It just kind of happened. Yeah.
That's a cool one. Yeah, I feel like to backtrack a little bit, asking if it's Irish or British is like me saying is it I-35 or MoPac? I mean, I know those are some deeper rivalries in there. I didn't mean to equate those as the same thing, but the voices kind of sound the same to me. I mean,
yeah, we all know the cool one and the uncool one. It's all good.
Yeah, and you it's going too deep in this if it's deep cover, but I know you spent some time on the Isles this summer doing a movie shoot. How'd that go for you?
Oh, well. I mean, it was fun living in London for 4 months, and getting to experience all that. It is. It's a. There's one thing I really loved about London, about what's particularly happened, is somewhere over the last 10 years they became very, very dog friendly, in a way that dogs are allowed in restaurants. So you can literally take your dog to dinner. And so we took our dog over with us, and so he got to go on all these various adventures. And we had restaurants where they didn't know our name, but they knew our dog's name. So we'd walk in, they'd be, "Oh, Bella, whiskey's
That's great.
here."
Does
And
your dog do podcasts?
no, he doesn't like
Oh,
to. He's very private. He's a very private dog. He-
understood. I had to ask. I had to give
but
it a chance.
But so that was the thing. What I loved about it was, it very much, that's a vibe that is very Austin. We are a very dog friendly city. Not so much in the restaurants because of health codes, but they don't have things like health codes in London. Weirdly, so
Perfect. Ever since the Dark Ages, man. Ever since the Black Plague, they
look,
just said, let's go with it.
yeah, it's great. They one of the running jokes over there is that the British are so weird, they take their dogs to dinner and leave their kids at home, and that's a very true statement.
Let
And
me tell you something.
it feels very
No,
Austin.
knowing some kids, man, can't say that'd be the craziest thing. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've gone pretty deep in our time here. This is fun though. I like taking more time than people expect, as you well know. Who's the nicest person in the movie industry that you know that people don't know is a cool person,
Oh God,
or
that's
just a nice one, like a top three?
yeah. I mean, Ethan would definitely be one of them. Ethan is just the super sweetest, nicest guy. He's just very approachable. He's very friendly. He's very affable. I like him quite a bit. Um, he's not. I mean, the thing is the secret to Hollywood is anyone who plays a villain on screen is the sweetest person known to man. Anyone who frightens you on screen, they're actually really great people. The assholes are the ones who are very good at playing the nice guy. So when you meet someone who are like, "Oh, I'm a huge fan of you. You're so great on screen," they're the ones. That's where you find out they're the jerks, or the weird ones. Whereas anyone that plays a character actor or a villain, they're unselfish actors. They're like, "Hey, I'm here to make a good movie. I'm here to act, and I'll be the bad guy, and you can hate me." Chiwetel Ejiofor is one of the nicest guys I've ever met.
Okay.
He's just such a nice guy, such an unselfish actor. He was great. You know who the cool? I mean, you assume she's probably cool, but she's cooler than you think she is. Here's my real answer. My full answer: Tilda Swinton. Tilda Swinton is the
Okay.
coolest fucking person I've met in my life. She is cool. She is sweet. She is nice. Me and my wife went out and drank with her and her boyfriend time and time again while we made that movie. And she's just such a down to earth, cool as fuck human being.
Which is
And
crazy because like her perception is that she's sort of ethereal and like this kind of wild character, and it's really interesting. That's why I love I asked that question, because that's not the impression. Not that she wouldn't be cool, but like the impression that she'd be approachable and magnanimous. That would not have been an average Joe's thought on Tilda.
oh no, yeah. You think, yeah, that she thinks she's as above us as she is. No, she's just above us and is down to earth about it. We went to a play together, and when between during the act break while we were getting drinks, everyone was approaching her and asking to get photos, and everyone, it was always a, "Oh yes, of course, absolutely." Like she knew that, that was part of the gig, and was very cool about it. And when we walked away, it wasn't like, "Oh man, can you believe I got had to fucking take all those photos?" It was, she was tickled by it. So yeah, she is everything you wish a human was.
That is super cool, and that is the highest praise I've ever heard. Certainly nothing. Well, I'm not a human, but certainly nothing anyone's ever said about me. But that's good to hear, because I learned something new about Tilda.
Yeah.
Um, this is important before we jump off here. The WGA is on strike right now, as you well know.
Yes.
Can you have the floor? Kind of get many of my listeners, all eight of them. very few of them are going to know like the meat and potatoes of like what the strike is about and why the Writers Guild is in the is in the right here. Just kind of get us up to speed on what that's about and where that is.
Long story short, about 15 years ago when we struck last time, one of the things we were asking for was residuals for online stuff. And it didn't make sense to a lot of people. I was a journalist at the time. I didn't understand it. I was against it. Did not understand. It's like, what? So if you wrote an SNL skit and it plays on YouTube, you get $200. I don't understand this, because this was 2008 that we struck. And Netflix wouldn't make its first streaming show until 2011. So this is 3 years before it would even be relevant. Well, so we called these things emerging technologies that, Apple and Netflix and what would become Hulu and Disney Plus. It was called emerging technologies. And we were like, okay, we're going to give you reduced rates so you can grow this technology, and then in the future we'll raise those rates. And they're like, yes. Well, it's the future now, and they don't want to raise those rates. And so writing as a writer on a show on Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus pays less than writing on a show that's on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, substantially less. And so for guys like me, it doesn't matter. I'm in that category of people who are paid quite a bit of money for what we do. And life is good. This strike isn't about us at all. The strike is about your fledgling writers, your starting writers, and what those basic minimums are that they get paid, and how many of them are required to be hired into a room. So what this does is this whole strike is about making sure that middle class writer that's writing your favorite TV shows gets paid what they're worth, and frankly gets paid a living wage, because right now the number of weeks that they're working and the amount they're getting paid is not a living wage, especially for someone that has to live in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
I know a lot of
or
writers.
Austin, or Austin. I mean,
Or Austin.
let's be honest here. I mean, Austin's getting crazy too. So I mean, or anywhere anywhere where the creatives are, right? I mean, they're not going to be living in Billings, Montana. So
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, and writers are making less than assistants are making out there. So it's actually more profitable to be an assistant to a creative than it is to be a writer on a hit show for a lot of people.
unbelievable, unbelievable.
So
The thing I heard, and I'll let you get back into it, but the thing I heard is that um, like take Netflix for example. A lot of the recent stuff that they're putting out there seems like a first draft. The writing on it. I mean, is that? I mean, it sounds. It's not an insult on the writers. It's an insult on the producers who are taking stuff that isn't finished, isn't cooked, and then they're producing it.
yeah, well, I mean, it is a factory over there. The thing
Yeah,
with Netflix in particular is that they didn't have any quality control. They were just kind of letting people do everything, and everything needs a strong producer. It needs a voice to go, no, you can't do that. Yes, you can do this. This
right.
isn't good enough. Do this again. And they weren't doing that at Netflix. And so Netflix, for a lot of years, it's why so much of that content is like, oh, well, this is fine. And then occasionally you get something really groundbreaking and genre defining. And it's because they had these great creators that came into this thing, but they did not have these producers that you could rely on that would have a specific quality.
Right.
So that's really kind of what happened over there. It's not that it was underwritten, it was that it was what the showrunner wanted it to be, but there was nobody over the showrunner going, hey, we're Netflix, it's got to be better than this. It's like you look at something like HBO is very picky, and it's why HBO is the brand that it is. Because the producers would always say, no, not good enough yet, not good enough for our viewers yet, not good enough, not okay, this is good enough.
It
That
seems
goes
like
for
a good, yeah, an important thing to have. Like, otherwise, it's like text dot. I mean, it
yeah.
just there's no quality control, man, and they just say what they want to say, and it ends up like it is, and then suddenly you have one lane is 3 feet lower in elevation than the other one, and someone's like, why the fuck did that happen? Oh, I swore. Why did that happen? And so I hear you, man. So it's and again, I was trying to blame the runners, man. I have
No.
kind of an underdog. I mean, I'm an underdog. I'm there's 35 on MoPac, right? I mean, I'm not the marquee player here, but I'm the more talented one. But
Yeah, you're everyone's favorite.
yeah, I feel like sometimes people don't have that opinion, around about 5 o'clock on like a Friday afternoon or something. But it's fine, man. They know what I'm about. So
You, you,
like,
you better than 183 in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah, 183, man. I don't know what that's all about. So screenwriting obviously is it's difficult, and you've explained some of the stuff, but it has to be a difficult thing being a screenwriter when the average person cares more about like the actors, directors, cinematographer, composer, wardrobe person, craft services. It's you have to have kind of an ego that can believe in what you're doing and not get too you know hung up on the fact that an assistant in Los Angeles is making more than you are. I mean, as you just said earlier, what is it sort of a unique mentality of being a screenwriter? I know you're a very successful one, but you've been in other positions before, and you certainly have friends in other positions. Is it sort of a unique screenwriter mindset that you have to make it work?
Yeah, yeah. You have to not want to be the star. You have to be okay with not being famous. You have to be okay with people not knowing who you are, even though they know every word of your script. And at the same time, uh, it comes with this comfort of, yes, but I'm not based upon the last thing I did necessarily. The great part about being a screenwriter is if you've made one or two good movies, you can have a whole career working and still not get things on the screen and still make a living working. And there's a comfort in that. There's a comfort to knowing that since I wrote three movies that have done very well, I know I'll still be working in 5, 10 years. Does that mean I'll always be in this industry? No, doesn't mean that at all. But if you fly right, keep your nose clean, and aren't an asshole, people will be like, well, he wrote Doctor Strange. Maybe he can make this one good. Maybe he's still got that fire in his belly. And so it's a trade-off. I like to describe it as being a candle instead of a puddle of gasoline. It's not as bright, it's not as flashy, but we're going to burn for a long time. And that's kind of you have to have that mindset of this is the job. And I like making movies and I like doing this particular part of the job. But I'm not going to be famous. People aren't going to stop me in the street and go, oh my God, you're C. Robert Cargill. I'm your biggest fan. You don't get that. And so, also it's great for those of us that don't want that. So yeah, it is a very particular type of headspace that you have to do this job.
Gotcha. Well, I think that's a good mentality because, like on the Oscars, for example, when the best screenplay award comes on, everyone goes to the bathroom. I mean, everyone you need to like be able to tolerate that. I mean, it's because people. The reality is, people who know. The real ones know what y'all do, and the real ones know that those actors are great, and you have friends who are actors, but like words kind of matter, right? I mean,
Yep.
if that script isn't there, it makes it a little bit tricky to shoot a movie, and you can be doing like Terrence Malick stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So so
absolutely.
some people saying that like a chat GPT or AI is going to replace screenwriters within 5 years. Do you think this is a ridiculous statement because it's going to happen sooner?
Well, no, it's not going to happen sooner. It's not going to happen at all. And not likely for quite some time. Where it would even be the thing is we're getting ahead of this on the AI issue. AI is generative. It's not creative. It's literally the best way to describe what AI is doing right now is it's like it's the big brother to the text predictor on your phone, where when you open up your text, it's got three words down there that you usually start text with, and you choose one of those, and then it's got three more words, and you choose that. That's how generative AI works, but on a bigger level. So when you ask AI to write you a script, it's not thinking about the ending. It's just starting somewhere based upon the data you give it, and it just kind of throws out a thing. The big danger is not that they're going to replace us. The big danger is that somebody's going to do that and say, I have a script. And it's like, yes, this is terrible and unfilmable. And it's like, yes, but I'm going to give it to you and pay you to rewrite it instead of write it from scratch. So I get to pay you less. And that's
God,
the
it's
big
horrible.
danger, because, the thing is that, art is art. It is a thing that we admire because it came out of a person, and it's not quantifiable. And so when you have something generate something, it doesn't matter how pretty it is, doesn't matter how good it is. When you know it comes from a computer, it feels worthless to you. And It's kind of like the way I describe it is the way people are going to look at AI screenplays or AI novels in the future is the way that we look at a really funny thing we saw on social media that turned out to be faked, where it's like you watch this 30-second video and it's hilarious and somebody's reacting in a strange way. It's like, oh, that's so funny. And then you find out it's fake. It's like, oh, and now it's worthless to you. It's not funny anymore because it's like, oh, they set that up. It's not real. And that's how people are going to look at AI generated art. Is it's like, oh, well, that's not a real movie. I mean, yeah, actors were in it, but it was written by a computer. So it's not really someone saying something. It's a computer approximating something. Oh,
I'm
and
with you, man. And you know me, man. I feel like, full disclosure, I have some skin in the game because I do have a chat bot, an AI screenwriter bot. You've probably seen it on. You've probably seen some of my pages up on before the strike and after. And some say that bot has some ability to capture some Austin-y kind of things, but maybe lacks a little bit of the soul that a traditional, in quotes, screenwriter, end quote, would have. But I mean, I won't say it. I was within a hair's breadth of getting Tubi to option it. So here we are. I mean, it's pretty close. I know it's on strike now. I'm not trying to undercut you, buddy, but my bot's got kind of a big head about it.
well, yeah, well, I mean, if you got that skin in the game, you got that skin in the game, and I feel you.
That's awesome. All right, we're almost wrapping up here. One thing I did want to ask you about. You've done some writing for the VHS movie series, VHS, and I know you have a new one coming out, VHS 85. Was there any internal discussion about calling them Beta?
No, but we've joked about it. We've joked that that's the next viable option is call it Beta, and then Beta 82, and then Beta 84, and that's as far as you get to go, really.
Or you can go Laserdisc, which would be like The Hangover Part 3. I'm sure if you saw that. Not the best work. Let's go. So we have about 15 seconds left here. I'm about to run out of my AOL plan. Um, are there any new projects that you want to tell the Austin listening audience, all the dozens of people who are listening to this right now, and that you were able to tell us, and any sort of like cool insider information, like, yeah, listen to that Evil MoPac Cargill podcast, and I'm in they're at some coffee shop, and they're bragging about it, and yeah. So here, the floor is yours, my friend.
Well, if you liked listening to my nonsense, you can find my podcast where I talk about old movies with a buddy of mine here in Austin called Junk Food Cinema. I have a short story coming out in a really cool book here this month called Haunted Reels, which is a whole bunch of us indie horror filmmakers all got together and wrote short horror stories. That's a great book that's coming out later this month. You can see VHS 85 this October on Shudder. And if you want to check out my older stuff, you can find all of my movies, Sinister, Doctor Strange, Black Phone, wherever you get your movies. And you can find my books, especially here at Book People. Book People very kindly stocks my books. Day Zero, Sea of Rust are my most recent, and you can find them there.
That is awesome. And if you're able to say it, is there a specific? I obviously don't want people to watch VHS 85 for just one segment, but is there a specific segment that you wrote that you're attached to that people could be?
Well, I mean, it's
especially
just I wrote one. Me and Scott wrote one together. That's in that. So it's
Gotcha.
we wrote a segment called Dream Kill, which is the final segment of the movie. So the others are created by other filmmakers. So yeah,
Very cool. That's been I will say that is a reliably terrifying and entertaining series. So I look forward to seeing that.
great.
Good. Well, hey, thank you so much. I'm not going to say I don't love taking your time because that's kind of what I do. But it was a real pleasure here today. And what do you want me to call you? I mean, Cargill.
Everyone
What is
calls me
it?
Cargill.
Cargill. Okay, that's fine. Like in the C in your first name, is that just like C or like C Thomas Howell, or is it like is that short for something, or is that
It's
just like
Christopher.
cool? Christopher.
It's
Okay.
it's Christopher. I was born in 75, so everyone born in 75 was named Christopher. So I just kind of got away from being called Chris because we were all called Chris. So
Born in 75, man. Stop bragging about being so young. God damn you. All right, partner. Well, this is a real pleasure. I really thank you for your time, and I hope everyone checks out those movies, and let's do this again sometime.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, peace out, and I'll see you Monday morning. All right.